If you're ever desperate enough to answer a Craigslist ad that says $800 for one night, no questions asked. Just know this, you're not getting paid to work. You're getting paid not to run. My name's Kenny, 26, broke, behind on rent, and too proud to ask my mom for help again. The kind of broke that makes you ignore red flags when there's a wad of cash on the other side of them. The ad said, one night outdoor supervision. No experience needed. Must be able to follow instructions exactly. Transportation provided. $800 cash. No questions asked. I thought, security gig. Maybe something shady. Maybe drugs. Maybe stolen property. But hey, $800. I applied with a burner email. 15 minutes later, I got a reply. You've been selected. A van will pick you up at 8:45 p.m. sharp. Wait outside your building. No calls. No questions. There was no name. No contact info. Just GPS coordinates dropped into the bottom of the message. I clicked them. The location was deep in the woods, about an hour outside the city. No structures. No cabins. Just a patch of wilderness on the edge of nowhere. That should have been my cue to close the laptop and forget the whole thing. But I didn't, because broke people don't get to have instincts. 8:45 p.m. sharp. The van pulled up. Black, unmarked, tinted windows. The driver didn't speak, just nodded when I stepped in and motioned for me to put on the blindfold laid neatly on the seat beside me. I laughed, thought it was a joke. He didn't move until I put it on. Then the van started driving. I didn't know how long we were on the road. Maybe an hour, maybe more. The longer we drove, the more my senses warped. I started to feel like I wasn't just being transported. I was being disconnected, like the world behind the blindfold wasn't mine anymore. When we stopped, I felt cold air rush in as the van door slid open. A hand, gloved, gripped my arm and helped me out. Someone whispered, "Keep the blindfold on until the chime. Then follow the lanterns." I nodded, and then they were gone. The first sound I heard after they left wasn't the chime. It was breathing, not mine. Low, guttural, not close, but not far either. Then the chime came, a soft metallic ring, like a Tibetan bell, vibrating somewhere above me. I pulled the blindfold off, and found myself standing in the middle of a cleared field, maybe the size of a football stadium. Dense trees formed a perfect ring around it, not natural at all. Too exact, too clean. In front of me was a dirt path lined with hanging lanterns. Old ones, iron, flame-lit, flickering like they were struggling to stay alive. The path led toward a center I couldn't fully see, just a faint glow rising over the field's slight hill. I considered turning back, but the woods behind me were pitch black. No lanterns, no lights, and the air. It didn't want me to go back. I walked forward. The path curved slightly, always lined with flickering light. As I walked, I started to notice shapes along the edges of the field. Bundles tied in fabric, resting at the base of certain trees. I thought maybe they were camping gear, supplies, but when I passed the third one, I saw a shoe sticking out. Not like someone forgot it, like someone was still wearing it. I stopped, bent down, pulled the edge of the cloth back just enough to see an eye. Open, glass-like, staring. I fell back, heart pounding. It wasn't a bundle. It was a body, wrapped, staged, left. I scrambled to my feet and looked down the path. More bundles. 7, 8, maybe more. Each one spaced evenly between the trees. The glow ahead flickered brighter now. I wanted to run, but something about the path, something deep in my gut, told me if I left it, I wouldn't make it 2 steps. I kept walking. At the crest of the hill, I saw it. A circle, perfectly formed, surrounded by stone pillars, each one etched with symbols I didn't recognize. Lines, spirals, crude figures with too many limbs. At the center of the circle was a stone table. Around it, 9 chairs, all empty, all facing inward. The glow was coming from the center of the table. A basin filled with something black and thick, burning with cold blue flame. As I approached, I heard whispering, not from a voice, from inside my head. Words I couldn't translate, but meanings I could feel. Welcome. Chosen. Seat. Watch. One of the chairs pulled out on its own, facing the basin, facing the fire. He said, not because I wanted to, because it would have been worse if I didn't. The flame pulsed, the whispering grew louder, and from the trees across the circle, someone stepped out. No, something. It wore the shape of a man, but its movements were all wrong. Like a puppet controlled by too many strings. And behind it, 8 more followed, each dragging something wrapped in cloth. Each bundle was still moving. The first ritual hadn't even started yet, and I knew I wasn't being paid to watch. I was being groomed. For what? That was still to come. I sat frozen in that stone chair, palms sweating against the cold surface, as the 9 figures made their way to the center of the circle. None of them spoke. None of them made a sound, not even when they moved. Their limbs swung like hinges, not joints. The wrapped bundles dragged behind them, trailing through the dirt like offerings. They laid each one around the basin in a perfect ring. 9 bodies, some still squirming, some already still. And then, as one, the robed figures stepped back and stood behind the chairs, the same chairs surrounding the table. Each took a place behind a seat, except for mine. Mine remained empty behind me, as if waiting. The whispers returned, stronger, louder, but still inside me, not around me. The symbols on the pillars began to shimmer faintly, like heat rippling off asphalt. I could feel something beneath us now, like the very earth was breathing, each inhale pulling the cold into my spine. I couldn't move, couldn't stand. The chair held me there. Then the tallest figure stepped forward, the one who'd come first, and raised a long, jagged blade. Not metal, not stone, something older. It looked like bone carved from a jaw, the kind of tool a god would use, or a beast that ate them. He pointed it toward the first bundle. A girl, couldn't have been more than 19, wrapped in linen stained with old rust. She thrashed weakly. The figure didn't hesitate. The blade came down, right across her chest.
No scream.
Only a sound that should never come from a human body. The basin's flame surged. The blue fire turned black at the edges, lashing out like tendrils. One of them stretched toward the fallen girl, touched her, and she stopped moving. Not limp, not dead, empty, like her soul had been pulled from her before the blood even dried. The whispering in my head grew louder. A single phrase now, repeating over and over. Watch and do not speak. Watch and do not speak. They moved to the second bundle, then the third. One by one, they performed the same act. Not rushed, not cruel, just precise, deliberate. Each time, the flame changed, grew, started to show shapes inside it. Shadows that didn't belong to anything in the circle. Figures writhing, mouths opening, eyes blinking where no eyes should be. By the 6th sacrifice, I started crying. Not from fear, from something deeper, like I was grieving something I didn't even remember losing. That's when I realized the whispers weren't just words anymore. They were memories, but not mine. Images began bleeding into my mind. Flashes of other places, other rituals, other people strapped to tables and wrapped in cloth. I saw ancient forests, salt deserts, mountaintops blanketed in ash. The same basin, the same flame, the same 9 figures unchanged across centuries. And always one chair left empty.
Mine.
When the 9th body fell, the leader turned, faced me, and finally he spoke, but not out loud, straight into my head. You were not chosen to witness. You were chosen to remember. He stepped forward, raised the blade, not toward me, but toward his own face. With one motion, he carved the hood clean off, and beneath it was my face, burned, split, eyes black and flickering with blue fire. He stepped behind my chair, placed a hand on my shoulder, and whispered one last time, "The price is memory, and now you owe." The flame surged, the earth screamed, and everything vanished. I woke up at 7:48 a.m. on the curb outside my apartment.
No van.
No note. Just a thick envelope of cash in my jacket pocket. $800. The exact amount. It smelled like dirt and iron. There were specks of something dark on the bills. I didn't look too close. My phone was back in my hand, fully charged, and the last text I'd sent hours ago was gone, replaced with a draft message I don't remember writing. It just said, "The circle is complete. Another will come. The chair must never be empty." I tried to forget, tried to tell myself it was a dream or drugs or some messed up performance art I got caught in. But dreams don't leave your hands smelling like ash for days. And dreams don't make you hear voices in static. Because now, when I hear wind chimes, when I see candlelight flicker the wrong way, or when I pass old fields with circles burned into them, I know what they mean. The ritual isn't a one-time thing. It's a cycle. And somewhere out there, right now, there's a new Craigslist ad, waiting for the next desperate soul. Took me weeks to accept I wasn't going insane. At first, I tried every logical explanation. Sleep paralysis, gaslighting, some elaborate prank that blurred the line between art and assault. But logic breaks down fast when the voices don't stop. When your dreams keep bringing you back to a cold stone chair in a forest that doesn't exist on any map. And worst of all, when you realize you're not the only one. It started with an online post, a Reddit thread, Craigslist gig, rural location. No cell signal, weird stuff, help. It didn't get much traction. But the description sent ice through my spine. Got picked up in an unmarked van, blindfolded, taken to some field with lanterns. They told me to sit and wait until the fire changed color. I didn't see anything else, but I felt watched the whole time. Got home and found cash in my pocket. Now I have these dreams. Can't stop hearing whispering. The comments were full of trolls and skeptics, but I recognized the signs. The ritual, the voices, the compulsion to write it down. They weren't just reporting what happened. They were being used, like me. So I messaged them. No reply. The post vanished the next day. Not deleted, vanished, like it had never been there at all. That's when I started digging deeper, not just into Craigslist, but the web beneath it.
Forum.
Hidden boards, old paranormal archives that hadn't been updated since the 90s. Patterns emerged, different places, different names, but always the same ritual. Always 9 figures, always one empty chair. Sometimes it was called the Night Watcher's Rite. Other times, the 9th Flame. In one post from 2003, it was described as the Debt of Fire. And in every version, the role of the witness was the same. The 10th must not speak. The 10th must not interrupt. The 10th remembers so the gate stays closed. That line appeared again and again. Sometimes in different languages, sometimes scratched into images, sometimes whispered in corrupted audio files. I thought I could run from it. I left my apartment, moved across the state, changed my name, cut contact with everyone. But it didn't matter, because it's not about where you are. It's about what you've seen, what you've been made part of. 2 nights ago, it came back. Not a dream, not a post, an envelope, slipped under the door of my motel room. No address, no name. Inside was a photo. At first glance, just another forest clearing. But as I stared, the image shifted, like it was alive. I saw the chairs, the basin, the same table, and 9 dark silhouettes, frozen mid-step, dragging cloth-wrapped shapes across the grass. Except this time, all 10 chairs were filled. I dropped the photo, burned it, but that didn't stop it. Because the next day, I started forgetting things. First my sister's name, then my apartment number back home, then what city I'd even come from. It's not normal forgetfulness, it's surgical. Like memories are being harvested, one at a time. And the more I forget, the stronger the urge becomes. To find another Craigslist listing. To watch again. To serve. Last night I checked the site again. I don't even remember typing it in. My fingers moved before I could stop them. And there it was. Fresh ad. Different city. Same promise. $800 cash. 1 night. No experience needed. outdoor supervision, transportation provided. No questions. I clicked it, filled it out, then stared at the screen for an hour. I couldn't stop myself. The email came 5 minutes later. You've been selected. A van will arrive at 8:45 p.m. It's happening again. They're calling me back. Or maybe I never left, because that's the part I've only just begun to understand. The ritual isn't a single event. It's a loop. The 10th seat isn't always empty. It rotates, and those who witness once must witness again. But there's one thing I haven't told you. A line that's whispered in every version of the ritual I've found. Always hidden in the deepest threads. Always dismissed as nonsense. But I think it's real. I think it's the only way out. The chair must never be empty. But if the flame dies, they burn instead. That's my plan now. I won't run. I won't witness. This time, I'm going to interfere. I stood outside the motel room that night, watching the same black van roll up, headlights dim, no license plate. The engine purred like it was breathing. When the driver stepped out, I recognized the face. Or at least the lack of one. Smooth skin, no eyes.
No mouth. No sé.
Only a single hand held out, pointing to the open sliding door. No words.
No commands.
Because they knew. I was going willingly, but not for the same reason as last time. The blindfold was already on the seat. I didn't put it on. Not this time. If I was going to end this, I needed to see everything. The driver didn't move, but the van still drove, like the road itself bent around us.
No turns. No stops.
Just motion. When it came to a halt, the side door opened again. Without touch, without sound. And the cold hit me instantly. Worse than before. Colder than air. Colder than death. Like absence had a temperature. The forest was the same. The path. The lanterns. The impossible clearing. But this time, the basin was already burning. Black fire. Silent. Watching. The chairs were set in a perfect circle, and I saw the bundles. 9 this time, all laid out like sacred geometry, twitching gently, alive just long enough to feed something beneath the earth. The 9 figures were already present too, and as I approached, they turned in unison, like marionettes tied to a single command. Then, one by one, they sat, 8 seated behind the table. 1 chair remained. Mine. They didn't force me into it this time. They didn't need to. I walked toward it with steady steps. But before I sat, I reached into my jacket and pulled out the one thing they hadn't expected. The thermos. Not just any thermos. I'd filled it hours ago. Gasoline, crushed sage, graveyard soil, powdered bone. I'd researched for weeks. Cross-referenced every thread, every ritual, every ancient rite of disruption. This concoction was forbidden in every version. Not because it was dangerous, because it interfered. I opened the thermos. The flame in the basin shivered. The figures jerked. One twitched so violently it collapsed to the ground, convulsing. I didn't hesitate. I stepped forward and poured the contents into the black fire. It hissed, screamed, not like wind, not like air, like thousands of mouths howling from inside me. The basin cracked. The flame lashed up, clawing at the air like it was trying to escape its own skin. The ground beneath us shook. The sky above us folded inward. And for a split second, I saw what lay beneath the field. Not roots, not dirt, but faces, pressed together like a mass grave, mouths frozen open, eyes wide and burning with blue light. The 9th flame had fed on them, used them, and now it was starving. The figures screamed. High, sharp, panicked. The first sound they'd ever made. The chair behind me pulled back violently, trying to drag me down with it, but I stood my ground. The basin exploded in a pillar of blue-black flame. And for the first time, the fire began to burn backward, sucking itself inward, imploding, dragging everything with it. The bundles rolled across the ground, still breathing, still alive. I grabbed one. A boy no older than 16, eyes barely open, and yanked him out of the circle. Then another, and another. The forest bent, groaned, threatened to collapse around us. The stone pillars cracked. The sigils bled black ichor. The 9 chairs burst into flame one by one, consumed by the very thing they worshipped. And then, silence. When I came to, it was morning. The clearing was gone. Just woods. Normal. Boring. Deafeningly alive. The basin? Gone. The chairs? Gone. Even the bundles were gone except one, the boy I dragged out. He was breathing. Barely. But he was there. I carried him to the road, flagged down the first car I saw. Didn't say a word. Just watched him disappear in the back seat, dazed and blinking at the sky like he'd never seen it before. I thought I'd won, that I'd broken it, stopped the cycle. But then I checked my phone. New message.
No sender.
No subject. Just a single sentence. The 10th does not escape. The 10th becomes. That night, my hands started to burn. Not pain. Heat. Power. They glowed faint blue under my skin, like the flame had branded me. I tried to sleep, but when I closed my eyes, I didn't see darkness. I saw the clearing. I saw the chairs. I saw myself, seated behind the table. And this time, I wasn't watching. I was leading. The 9th had fallen. But a new circle was forming. And deep below, the gate still breathed. I stopped it once. But the ritual didn't end. It only shifted. The question now is, when the next desperate person answers that Craigslist ad, when they follow the lanterns into the trees, when they take the 10th chair, will I be the one waiting? It's been 3 months. 3 months since I burned the basin, shattered the flame, and walked away thinking I'd broken something ancient. I was wrong. I didn't break it. I inherited it. The signs started subtle. A strange heat in my palms that never faded. Dreams that weren't mine. Memories of woods I'd never entered. People in crowds looking at me too long. Not with fear, with recognition. And every time I passed by a mirror, I saw someone else standing just behind me. Same height, same shape, but where my eyes should be, blue fire. I stopped answering my phone. I shut down my email. Moved again. This time to the middle of nowhere. A cabin with no internet, no service, no neighbors. Just trees. And quiet. But the ritual doesn't need wires. It's older than that. It finds you in patterns. In numbers. In thoughts. And it found me again. One night, I woke up to wind chimes. I don't own wind chimes. But there they were. Hanging from the porch beam. Swaying without a breeze. They weren't metal. They were teeth. Inside the cabin, something had changed. The wallpaper was peeling in symmetrical spirals. The fireplace burned with no wood, only a quiet, pulsing blue flame. On the kitchen table was a single sheet of paper, not typed, burned into the grain. The chair is ready. The witness must return. I flipped it over. The back was blank, except for a tiny Craigslist logo in the corner. Not printed, branded. I destroyed the paper, tore it, burned it, buried the ashes. But the next morning, the same message was on the walls. The cabinets, carved into the wood of the floorboards. Everywhere I looked, I was being reminded of what I tried to undo. And then the dreams stopped being dreams. One night, I woke up back in the clearing. Real. Breathing. I stood in the circle. 9 figures across from me. No bodies this time.
No bundles.
Just the empty chairs. Waiting. And one by one, the figures knelt to me. Their heads bowed. As if I'd earned something. Or worse, as if I'd ascended. The basin burned blue again. The table cracked with fresh blood. And from the sky above, I heard something falling. Slowly. Rhythmically. Like footsteps. But from above. I looked up. And saw my own face descending. Expressionless. Surrounded by smoke and teeth and symbols I couldn't unsee. Then I woke. The message was waiting again. But different this time. Not etched. Not printed. Whispered. By a voice inside my closet. The fire must be fed. Or the gate will open. I screamed. Pounded the door shut. Nailed it. But I still hear the voice. Every night. From beneath the floor. Or inside the walls. Or behind my eyes. I thought I escaped the ritual. But that's the lie. There is no out. There is only the seat. And someone has to fill it. I didn't want to do this. I didn't plan to become the thing I fought. But I understand now. The ritual isn't fed by blood. It's fed by belief. Witnessing creates it. Remembering sustains it. That's why we're told not to speak. That's why they pay us to stay silent. Because if we tell someone, if we pass the memory on, the circle grows. So I'm doing what no one else has dared. I'm telling you, not because I want help, not because I need saving, but because you saw the ad. Didn't you? Maybe not on Craigslist. Maybe not yet. But you've seen it. Or you will. And when it comes, you'll remember this story. You'll remember the chairs, the flame, the empty seat. And that means it remembers you too. So if you hear wind chimes where none should be, if your hallway feels longer than it used to, if someone offers you $800 for one quiet night, no questions asked, don't go. But if you do, if the fire flickers blue, if 9 shadows circle the basin, and one chair remains empty, then sit down, close your eyes, and pray you never open them again.